Hello, my dear students, and welcome to your English online class. Today is Wednesday, June the 17th, 2020, and my name is Teacher Cosme. Today we are going to talk about grammar, so I really hope you enjoy your video today. So as you can see on your screen, we are on page number 78 of your book. And the green rectangle indicates a grammar point that is the past perfect. So I'm gonna click over here so you can listen to the explanation about the past perfect. So here we go.
Past perfect. We use the past perfect for actions that happened or situations that were true before a time that we're talking about in the past. The day of the exam, Jim had studied everything in the whole book. The time we're talking about is the day of the exam, and John had studied everything before then. We mainly use the past perfect when we talk about two things that happened at different times in the past. We use the past perfect for the action that occurred before the action described in the past simple. They abandoned the project because of the various problems they'd had. They had problems first, and then they abandoned the project. We often use the past perfect to show that the order of verbs in a story is not the same as the order of the events as they happen. This is common with verbs like say and think, which often lead a story to events that happened earlier. Sarah picked up the phone and called her mum to tell her that she'd decided to come home. First, she decided to come home. Then she picked up the phone and called her mum. John sat and began to think about the strange things that had just happened to him. First, strange things happened, and then he sat and began to think. We often use before, after, and already in sentences with the past perfect. Sam had already finished the race when Jamie reached the halfway mark. My friends arrived at the party after we'd left. I'd never seen a black and white film before that. We can also use adverbs, conjunctions, and prepositions that are common with the present perfect. Before you started English, had you ever studied grammar in your language? Did you take my glass? I hadn't finished my juice yet. It was a shame to leave the house. We'd lived there since I was 5. She'd just finished tidying up when her mum came home.
Okay, so you can see that the past perfect indicates two events that happened in the past, one before the other. So it's like a chronological sequence. Okay, so let's go back to our main page to check the green rectangle now that we have an idea of the past perfect. So here it says that we use the past perfect when we talk about two things that happened at different times in the past. We use the past perfect to make clear which action happened first. So for example, here in the sentence, we went home because he went home because he had injured himself. So the action in the past perfect takes place first, and then the action in the past simple takes place second. So first he injured himself and then he went home. We often use the past perfect to show that the order of verbs in a story is not the same as the order of events. So for example, it says here, we arrived in London and realized we had left our cameras at home. So what happened? First, we left the cameras, then we arrived. First we arrived, then we realized something that had happened before we arrived. So yeah, first we left the cameras, then we arrived, and finally we realized something that happened first. So we often use before, after, and already with the past perfect. For example, I hadn't seen giraffes before I went on a safari in Africa. I'd already arrived home when it started to rain. So in the first example, because this is negative, it means that first I went to a safari and then I saw giraffes. But in the second sentence, because it's affirmative, it means that when first I arrived home and then it started to rain. So let's go to our main page to see what we have here. Okay, so here I'm going to click on the exercise that says complete the sentences using the ideas below. Use the past perfect, use contracted forms. Okay, so for example, the number 1. I didn't call you yesterday because I'd left my mobile on the bus. So for example, the number 2 says I went to bed last night because my uncle and aunt had arrived from Canada. 3, I could hardly walk because I had run a marathon the day before. 4, we didn't go camping last weekend because it had rained for a week without stopping. Okay, so I'm going to correct the mistake here. I joined Mia and Kim at the table after I had paid for the milkshakes. And the last one, Luis felt so nervous on Friday because he hadn't studied for the exam. So I'm gonna click on the check button and, well, but if I check again, the answers are totally and absolutely correct. Okay, so here you go. Very well. So now let's go on to the next exercise. Okay, so I'm gonna click here. And now this looks more interesting because now I have to combine the 2 sentences into one using the past perfect and obviously the clue in parentheses. Okay, so let's do this. So the number 2 says, I didn't go to the film because I'd already seen the film last week. Okay, so I'm going to use the contraction over here. Okay. The number 3 says, Theo arrived at the school after the first lesson had started. Number 4 says, I couldn't wear my dress to the party because my sister had borrowed it. 5 says, my friends arrived before I'd eaten, okay, with a contraction, the ice cream for my summer party. And the number 6 says, I didn't have any money because I'd lost my bag that morning. Again, I'm gonna use the contraction. So now let's see if the sentences are correct. And well, let's see what happens when I click the show the correct answer. Well, you can see that they are pretty much the same. So they are absolutely correct. Okay, so now I'm gonna click on this exercise, which says to choose the correct past tense using the past simple when it is possible. Okay, so let's see. I had an audition for a part in a new film. I was really excited because I hadn't acted in a film before. I had never met the director either. I really wanted the part, so I rehearsed it for days. As my appointment was early, I decided to take the car because it was quieter. But I didn't leave or didn't leave enough time, so I arrived late. The car park was full, but suddenly I spotted a parking space. But just then, another car zoomed in and took my space. I was really angry, so I shouted at the driver. She got out of the car, just looked at me, and walked away. When I finally found another parking space, I locked my car and ran. I joined the other actors in the waiting area. Most of the actors had done the audition already. When my name was called, I walked in and I saw the director. She was the woman who had taken my parking space. I didn't get parts. Okay, so let's see, right? Okay, so here we go. Not always can I get lucky, but this time I did manage to get the correct answers. Okay, so let's go back to the main page. Okay, so here I have to ask questions before you came to school. Number one is the example. Had you studied any English? Okay, let's do it. So, had you seen any films in English? Had you read any books in English? Had you learned any English songs? Had you gone to an English-speaking country? And had you learned to speak any other language? All right, so let's click on the check button. And okay, all right, so let's click on the show the correct answers, and we are going to see that it's exactly the same. You see, it's always the same. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, and I guess we have run out of time now. Okay, my dear students, so thank you very much for paying attention to the video today. I hope that you learned the past perfect today. We will be practicing with some exercises from the Richmond learning platform throughout next week or this week, depending on our activities. So thank you very much. Again, take care of yourselves. Have a good time, and I will see you next time around. Bye-bye.